So we finally got the update that I've been waiting for, ranged combat for Ashes of Creation. Now, most recently I've been playing New World, I've been playing bow. I love ranged combat. Before that, I was playing EverQuest as a ranger. Now, those are two extremely different game types with two very distinct gameplay types. For New World, you actually aim. It's sort of like an FPS. It's very actiony. You have to move around. There's no tab targeting. For EverQuest, it's as in-actiony as possible. You just target the thing and mostly auto-attack with a couple of little abilities and spells thrown in to boot. Now, we'll get into what I mean by the title. I promise it's not just clickbait. But I want to talk about what I liked about what I saw first. I was very happy to see that they went with the in-between choice. In other words, it's not New World and it's not EverQuest. We got something that looks really actiony. It's all the sound effects and the animations are punchy, but it's still tab targeting. Now there's that little hybrid targeting where you can sort of put your reticle over what you want to hit and you're targeting that, but it's not like Tabula Rasa where you had to have the actual mouse cursor on the target, so it was like a fake FPS. This is just so that the game knows what you want to target. You can just switch between the two modes. Really what we're looking at is a semi-hybrid system, closer to something like a World of Warcraft. Many other games do it, in which you have some AoE abilities that are just going to hit anything that is within their radius, but mostly you're actually targeting something. So even if you're a warrior and your sweeping strikes are hitting anyone, or a whirlwind is hitting anyone within that radius, you can still tab target somebody, charge at them, for instance, and you'll go right at them. In New World, it can be really annoying. I've played, with a lot of the different weapons, and I'll bust out my great axe and I'll do my charge, because there's a charge with the great axe, and just go right next to the guy. Sometimes it'll still hit him, but I'm beyond the guy now and missing him, and now I get hit in the back. So it's nice to have the reliability of tab targeting. And that's why I really like that Ashes of Creation is going with that hybrid, because what you're going to get out of it is you're going to get accessibility. More people can play it. You don't have to be an FPS player to play a bow class now in Ashes of Creation. You get the normalization of skill, so there hopefully won't be so much of a variance in skill, and also with ping. You get the reliability of not just lagging out a little bit and missing every shot because the guy is actually over here or he's bouncing around on your screen. It's just going to be a much smoother experience for a PvP dominant game, which Ashes of Creation strives to be. And really in PvP, what you want is to feel cheated the least amount of times possible. You want things to feel like you got what you deserved. Even if you lost, it was a fair fight. You know what the guy did. You're not confused about it. So you don't want something like a headshot, like you actually do get in New World, where it just does massive damage all of a sudden, and it's hard for you to get it. So on this side, on the guy shooting, yes, it's gonna feel good when you get it, but most of the time you're not gonna get it. That can still equal out to be something fun, but on the other side, it's terrible because you're just walking around trying to harvest a boar or something. You just found yourself a fat stash of hemp, and you're harvesting that, and all of a sudden, pink, and you're dead, right? So that's not what you want. It's great in a fast turnover rate sort of FPS, where the entire match can be decided off that one shot. But in something that is a lower frequency game, where you're just adventuring and suddenly you die, not going to be so much fun. Also the higher stakes where you might be losing equipment, experience, a huge, death run, who knows? But you're not going to want it to feel unfair. Now I'd like to talk about some of the things that kind of disappointed me. I was kind of disappointed that we only got 3 abilities, if you can even call them that, and 2 weapon variants, the longbow and the short bow. I would have liked to have seen more abilities, more of the kit. What I was really hoping that we'd see is a little bit more about how you might spec, how classes might start combining with one another, because that's what really interests me. I mean, I gotta say, quick shots, aim shots, those are like basically what if you had to put together a game jam of somebody shooting a bow, like those are the first 2 things you're going to think about, like rapid fire and that aim shot that hits for a lot but takes a little bit longer. Next is probably going to be movement, maybe a rooting shot like a snare or something like that, a trap. But movement ability would be next. Obviously, the movement ability that they showed was awesome. It looks really fun to use. It's super dramatic. It's explosive. But I'm not entirely sure that it's going to survive until release. It's just a little bit too big, too bombastic. I think that ability is going to be very game-breaking for a lot of the terrain, perhaps, like hopping over obstacles you're not supposed to get over. Also, the cooldowns seem to be way too fast on it. So we'll see how it actually comes out once we actually hit release or even the alpha. But I suspect that the jump is going to get a little bit smaller, it's going to get a little bit more humble, and it'll still be fun, but maybe just not quite as dramatic. But so now on to the title. How much of this is fake? Let's talk about the game that Steven is playing, shall we? Now, I want to be sympathetic. Obviously, Steven has this reputation for not being a very good game player. I think that might be part of his shtick, you know, to make him more accessible and likable. Like, oh, there goes goofy Steven not being able to take care of like, a wolf pup and a minotaur or something. Got to turn God mode on again. But I think that to be fair, I think he had an idea. He had a plan, a schedule that he wanted to follow. He knew he had that movement ability, I'm pretty sure, and he didn't use it when he was in trouble because he wanted to demonstrate rapid fire, then aimed shot, and then the movement ability. Maybe show the two bows in between and finish it off with that big flare of the movement ability, right? So he had this schedule that he wanted to follow, and maybe he feigned a little ignorance, like, oh, quick, what do I do? What buttons do I press? He had to know. And I have some evidence that I want to bring up as to why I believe that that's the case. First, let's talk about the birds. At one point, he becomes a little ADD, like distracted there. He just looks at some birds that are by his feet and go, wait a second, if I move, will these birds fly away?
Trad, 1 second. Something happened. These little birds just spawned right near me, and they're like eating on the ground. If I move, will they move?
I hope so.
Okay, let's see.
Let's find out.
Birds, how are you just gonna sit here and let me run around you?
Now, he knows that they're supposed to fly away, okay? He's feigning ignorance there. If we look at these other parts of the video, you can clearly see butterflies and birds flying away when he enters range. Now, I don't know exactly why the birds didn't fly. There's a million reasons that the glitch can happen. Maybe he was still in that stealth mode that he used to walk up to the Minotaur. Or maybe there's a radius that has to be sort of crossed in order, like a kind of a circle collider there, just or a sphere that you cross and then the birds fly away, and it has actually a pretty big radius so that they're not flying away right when you come up to them, but when they're in the distance and they look dramatic. You can see that the way that they were animating looked a little bit janky, like maybe they're not supposed to be seen from so up close, and maybe they just don't have the mechanics in play to not spawn the bird next to a person, or maybe he was in that stealth mode. I don't know why the birds didn't fly, but he knew that they were supposed to fly, and he still pretended as though he didn't know, asking the questions. And it's a great mechanism for sort of introducing the audience who doesn't know that the birds are supposed to fly to all of these things. And that applies, of course, to the abilities for the ranged class as well. And a lot of the fumbling that happened may have been completely organic, okay? It could have been that he didn't expect for that wolf or, that kind of wolf-like thing to be at his feet when he jumped off of the ruins, and that kind of set everything off in the wrong foot. And they actually had that quote sort of from Mike Tyson, which is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that's very much the case, especially when you're trying to when you are hamstringing yourself by not allowing yourself to use the full kit until you've revealed it one step at a time. So, some of it is organic, but the next and probably best argument that Steven knows a lot more than he's letting on is the way that he answers the questions that he gets in the Q&A.
How will animations work while dual wielding weapons of A, a different type, or B, different weapon speeds?
Dual weapons will have their own animation sets. There'll be a limited selection of which weapons can be dual weapons, right? Players will make that selection. They'll create those dual weapons as bespoke single items that when equipped will occupy both the main and offhand. And then how we handle attack speeds is we author animations at a particular speed, and then we adjust that with a modifier based on whatever is influencing that either increase or slow down in speed.
So, Summoner has been said to fill in the gaps in a party's role composition. What exactly does that mean in practice? Are they capable of speccing to be pure DPS, pure heals, or pure tank? Or instead, are they supposed to be doing all three at a lesser level as needed?
It depends on the summon that they bring out. They will have supporting abilities that enhance the role of that particular summon, or that can hybridize the role of that summon based on the ability they cast on the summon. When you choose a secondary archetype as your total class, that as a primary summoner, that will influence which category your summons perform best as a role.
Now, yes, okay, possibly these questions are pre-screened, but he never answers, oh, you know, that's a good question. Let me get with my naval warfare guys, or let me talk to the Ranger kit fellas. You know, he always has a direct answer. He knows exactly what it is, and if he is lying and if he's making it up on the spot, he's really good at it. So he might as well just, you know, be directing the game for real, right? So my conclusion is most of what you're seeing is actually just kind of a show. Steven actually does have a greater hand in the gameplay, in the design of the classes and all of this. You can hear the way that he discusses the summoning classes and the way that they're going to actually work the specs. You know, you're starting to hear if you spec summoner, DPS class, maybe you're going to summon DPS stuff. The idea being that you're able to specialize what you're good at in summoning through that subclassing system. That's obviously something that he's alluding to there, which means he's got his finger in that honey pot. If that's an expression, probably not. But you know what I mean. He's sitting in on all of these meetings. It's not just the systems that we've talked about to no end. The nodes and the politics and all of this stuff, which are very important to him, and more power to Steven there. But he definitely is more aware of the gameplay stuff than maybe his gameplay would let on. So if you first watched that video like I did, thinking, geez, like this is really concerning that the guy who's like the creative lead doesn't even know that he has like abilities like shoot the bow, you know. But I'm on to you, Steven. So I think we all should know better than to buy that. But that is my take on it. What do you think? Do you think that he actually doesn't know how to shoot the bow? Let me know in the comments below, and like and subscribe, and I'll be back with some more Ashes of Creation content as soon as there's more to talk about.